We are. All right, great. Welcome. So today I had great designs for a very active practice, but I actually just got off of my work day and I'm feeling like maybe restoring a little bit. So we have a few options to start off with. You can try legs up the wall, which is, I'll demonstrate real quick how to get into that. Brian can show that on the sidewall so you can see it from a side view. But basically, with legs up the wall, you get right up next to a wall, like you're sitting next to it. Then you bring your knees away from the wall and bring your hips right up to the wall, lying kind of in a fetal position.
I got a doorstop over here, so I gotta watch myself.
Legs up the doorstop. And then from here, I just take my legs right up like this. If you want a padding of some sort under your hips, you can press your feet into the wall, lift the hips, and put a blanket down underneath. And of course, if you aren't practicing with a wall around, that's fine too, because you can always come into easy rest posture, which is like this with the knees knocking together, leaning back. Or you could come into supine bound angle posture, which is resting again on your back, but with the knees wide and the soles of the feet together. If you are choosing to do this posture, you can take some blocks and put them under your knees. Otherwise, we'll hang out with legs up the wall. Why did I feel drawn to do legs up the wall? Well, I am suffering from a slight bout of sciatica right now from wearing too tight pants and standing up for my workday. So this is a wonderful antidote to that. So as we rest here with legs up or in a easy pose or in supine bound angle pose, just bring your attention to your breath for a little bit. Do you want to go over the principles of 4-part breathing or something like that?
Yes. So breathing, we want to breathe into 4 parts of the body, or at least bring our awareness to those parts as we're filling our body with air. And that is pelvic floor, belly, ribs, upper chest. And what that feels like is as we inhale, we bring our awareness to the pelvic floor. And we make sure we're not holding any tension or pulling it in or up or anything like that, but that it's actually almost like a downward motion a little bit. And then from there, we can fully fill into the belly, breathing.
And you might even want to try placing your hands, palms on the belly, and see if they start to move up a little bit and back down with your inhales and exhales, respectively.
And then from there, if you like, you can bring hands to the side rib cage. And so that's the next part. As we inhale, relaxing, I should say, the pelvic floor, filling into the belly, inhaling into the rib cage, and inhaling into the upper chest. The idea being that if we inhale deep enough, the belly fills up, the rib cage expands, and the upper chest even rises just a little bit at the top of that inhale. As we exhale, we fill from the top down. So upper chest comes down, rib cage pulls, ribs move back towards each other, belly draws in, and the pelvic floor will just naturally rise at the end of an exhale. So that's the idea. Just breathing fully and deeply, trying to make sure we're breathing all the way down, deep down into the belly, and not just breathing into the upper chest. So we got this nice flow of energy, oxygen, air, prana moving throughout the whole torso.
So we'll lay here just a moment longer, coming into our bodies. If your legs are starting to lose sensation, you can wiggle your toes if your legs are up the wall. Or you can bend your knees and put the soles of your feet flat on the wall. Or, if you like, you can bring the soles of the feet together. Oh, look at my little hole in my sock. This is how you know what I'm doing. See the hole in my sock. The feet will come together there, knees bend, and then take your hands to the inside of both knees. This is for if your legs are up the wall. And push down on the knees. So opening up the hips a little bit as the knees come towards the wall here. Just gentle. If you're laying on the ground in knock-kneed pose, you could try laying on the ground in supine bound angle. So bringing the soles of the feet together and laying the knees open up to the side now. You can have blocks supporting under your knees. And if you have been in supine bound angle, laying on the ground with the knees wide and have blocks under your knees, feel free to take them out now and see if your knees sink just a little bit closer to the ground. Try to tuck your tail ever so slightly, curving the low back towards the ground here. And then when you're ready, wherever you are, either lying completely on the ground or lying with your knees against the wall, your hips against the wall, we'll take our hands to the outside of our knees and gently close the knees, bringing them in towards the chest. Let's roll off to one side. And if you're against the wall, if you're on the floor, just stay on the floor and we will meet you there. Laying on the floor, knees bent. We're gonna warm up the spine ever so slightly. I have a folded up blanket under my head just for comfort's sake. If you want something like that, by all means, take it. Today's class is about comfort. Even though many yoga postures are quite uncomfortable, what we're looking for is the massage and the relaxation within these postures. We're looking for the comfort in uncomfortable situations because we can't guarantee a life of comfortable situations, but we can guarantee a life of comfort even in discomfort. So from here, the soles of my feet are flat on the ground, knees are pointing up towards the ceiling, and I'm just going to do a little bit of inhaling up in the bridge and then exhaling back down. So to show you what that looks like, we'll start with the hips. I'm going to inhale, lifting my hips, rolling up through the spine, vertebra by vertebra, until I'm in not my fullest bridge, but you know, a lifted hip position. And then my exhale, my hips are going to come back down. So I'm inhaling the hips up, exhaling the hips down. It's like the ebb and flow of the tides of the ocean. The inhale draws the hips up, belly is inflated, maybe like a hot air balloon lifting you up. Exhale, hips come down. You can either continue practicing like this, or you can add in the arms. We're going to layer in another part of this practice. Inhaling, hips up, and arms lift up high and then above the head, coming to meet the ground behind your head. Exhale, hips come down, arms lift up again, coming back down to rest, palms face down next to your hips. Inhale, arms come up, hips come up. Exhale, hips come down and arms turn right back down to next to the hips. We'll do this just a few more times. Inhaling, arms up, hips up. Exhaling, arms come back down, hips come back down. Inhaling up. Really lifting through the heart here. Exhaling, rolling back down. And this time, let's try, we have a few options here. I'm going to get Brian his little blocks. You can inhale the hips up, and then you can take one of your blocks and place it underneath the sacrum. That's like right above the tailbone here. So my glutes are resting on the block. You can have the block at a medium height. You can have the block at a low height. Or if you feel the need, you can have the block at a nice high height too. Totally fine. From here, we're resting in what's called supported bridge. If you feel comfortable with a deep psoas stretch this early in the practice, You can straighten out your right leg towards the corner of the mat, and then straighten out the left leg towards the corner of the mat. If you want a deep shoulder opener from here, you can lift your right arm up and over your head, reaching out towards the diagonal. And then you can lift your left arm and do the same thing. So your body's in a big letter X with the hips pressing up towards the sky. Breathing deeply, inhaling, seeing the belly rise. Exhaling, seeing the belly fall. Even though it's tempting to stick the tail out here, remember to keep the tail tucked as it rests on the block. Maybe you're feeling a dramatic stretch through the front of your pelvis. Take it easy. If it's too much, by all means, take the block down to a lower height. And then when you're ready, we'll bend one knee, bring the sole of the foot flat to the ground, bend the other knee, bring the sole of the foot flat to the ground. We'll take the arms down, lift up through the hips, remove the block, come all the way back down again. And this time we're actually going to challenge our ab muscles a little bit by putting the block in between the knees. I'm putting sort of the thin part of the block in between my knees. And then I'm going to come up just one time here into bridge, holding that block in place, and I'm going to hold my bridge. So what this means is I'm actually tucking my shoulders under my body a little bit and interlacing the fingers of both hands right below my hips. So my hands are maybe a good 6 inches or so below my hips, and my knees are hugging towards each other, holding the block in place. So you're probably feeling your quadriceps activate here, your thigh muscles, you're feeling your gluteus maximus and minimus possibly activate here. That's the muscles in your butt. Perhaps you're feeling your low back turn on a little bit here. Make sure to keep your tail tucked. Chin is slightly tucked. Deep inhale. And then on your next exhale, feel free to roll right back down. Vertebra by vertebra, opening out through the heart, opening through the shoulders, and then we'll bring the block away, draw the knees in towards the chest, and just rock side to side. Then when you're ready.
All right, so we're going to take our legs to about parallel to the floor like this, and we're just going to start rotating the ankles.
Oh, you're right. There's there.
There he comes. I knew we had somebody who wanted to come in and check it out.
He likes to watch the humans do their weird stretches.
So just pick a direction, rolling the ankles. You can feel free also to hold the legs if you don't feel like just hanging them in the air like this. You can give yourself a little support. We're just mostly working on rolling out the ankles, getting motion into the ankles, and then when you're ready, switch the direction when you're making the circles. I used to like to keep knees about hips width distance apart for this particular exercise.
But if you wish to engage the abdomen muscles, draw the knees together.
But then that makes it hard for me to roll. Well, I guess we can roll them together. Yeah. It's easier for the next exercise. So let's pull the knees into the chest, rock a little bit side to side. Bring our legs back to the same position, and this time feel free to draw the knees together. We're going to work the whole bottom half of the legs in tandem as we draw a circle with the feet, as if we're drawing a circle on the wall or on a wall. And then when you're ready, you can switch the direction that you're drawing the circle. Mm-hmm. And then let's bring the feet down, leave the knees up. You can take the arms out if you want. And I'm just gonna let the knees fall side to side, windshield wiper relieving any tension in the low back.
That's lovely. Very, very nice.
Then we're gonna open up, get some circular motion into the hips. So
I want to jump in real
Go for it.
quick. You have two options here. You can either, this is a practice today where you can either make it as restorative as you like, or you can make it challenging. If you wish to challenge yourself here, feel free to lift the head up a bit using the upper abdominal muscles, and then interlace the fingers of both hands and let the head gently rest in the hands, but you're really using the abdomen to lift the head here. If you'd like to keep it more restorative, by all means, keep the head on the mat or on your folded up blanket.
especially if it's giving you any tension in your neck. And then we're gonna bring the knees together in and up and then out. Take them both out, like, and then down. So it's like we're drawing two circles
That mirror each
that
other.
mirror each other, yes, with our knees.
Yeah, this is a hard one to explain, but hopefully you get the idea.
In and up, out and down with the knees. Think of it that. In and up together, separate them out and down. And then the next thing we're going to do is switch the direction.
So you probably feel this ridge through the center of your abdomen activating here, whether or not your head is up or down, but particularly if your head is up. That is your rectus abdominis muscles. That's what people call the six pack. And that is where your digestive fire lays within yoga. Within yogic philosophy, that's where the seat of Agni is. That's where Manipura chakra is, the city of jewels. It is called that because the idea is there's a fire in your belly that digests your food. That's where we want to keep the heat. Not in our head, but in our belly.
So when you're ready, pull the knees into your chest and just rock side to side.
We've got one more thing I want to do on our back, and it is going to require the use of a prop in the form of a belt or a strap or a piece of rope or a folded up sweater or whatever you've got nearby. So from here, let's bring the soles of the feet to the mat, and you can keep the left leg bent for now. We're going to extend the right leg towards the ceiling and put the strap or the belt or whatever you're using around the ball of your right foot and straighten that right foot towards the ceiling. If you feel like your left leg could be straightened out and your hips will still stay connected to the mat, by all means, straighten out the left leg. You can keep your left hand on your left hip if you want to make sure that it doesn't pop up at all. And from here, we'll take both ends, both ends of the strap into the right hand and just gently bend the right elbow, drawing the right foot towards your head. So the idea here is not that my right arm is way up close to my foot and my right shoulder is way off the ground. I'm actually drawing my right shoulder towards the ground as I draw that right foot overhead. It's okay to keep a slight bend in your right knee too, if you like, especially if you do have hyperextended knees, which means that they kind of bend backwards a little bit. In that case, definitely keep a little micro bend in that right knee. From here, we're just going to draw little circles on the ceiling with the right foot. So it's a real small rotation from the right hip here, but you probably feel it a little bit on the inside and the outside of the right shin. And then we'll draw them the other way for just a second. So switch directions of those little circles. One more time, bringing that right foot overhead, and then let's open it out to the right. So at this point, if your left leg is extended, definitely keep your left hand on your left hip bone to make sure that that left hip bone stays down. And if you're using a block, I very much recommend, I'm going to do this because I actually feel my muscles quivering since I'm so tired today. I do recommend placing the block on its highest setting and letting the outside of the right calf rest on the block so you can really allow the body to sink into this deep hip opener without having to rely too much on your muscles here. This is really more of a restorative kind of approach to this specific stretch. So it's up to you, but I do recommend the use of a block or some kind of block-like object here, a fat hook or something like that. Maybe not a cat. They move around too much. Breathing deep, opening out through the heart. If you wish to take the block one level down, totally fine. And at this point, you can move the hand further up the strap, closer to your right foot, if you want to draw the foot closer to your right ear. I know that's a stretch, but you know what I mean, I hope.
It is a stretch.
It's literally a stretch. The funny thing is I actually feel this a lot on the outside of my left glute, even though you'd think that wouldn't be so involved, but it's all connected. It's all the same body. So when you're ready, we'll inhale the right foot back up towards the ceiling, maybe letting the hand slide down the strap to keep that right shoulder on the ground. Then let's switch hands and take both ends of the strap into the left hand. You can take your right hand to that kind of hip crease area of your right hip. So the top of my fingers press into my right thigh. My finger pads are pressing into my right hip bone here. And I'm just gonna kind of keep my hand pressing down, keeping that right hip connected to the ground. I'm gonna move the right foot a little bit to the left. Woo! This one is real. Definitely a bit of a stretch around my throbbing sciatic nerve, and it actually feels quite wonderful. So I do recommend take this at your pace. No need for that right hip to come up just yet. And then if you have another block available to you, we'll take that block to the outside of our left hip, and now we'll let that right hip come up and maybe let that right calf rest on the block to your left. So a spinal twist here. We're keeping both the right and the left shoulders attached to the ground. You can even straighten out your right arm and look over your right shoulder as you hang out here in this twist. Very nice. When you're ready, we'll inhale that right foot back up, take the strap out, rotate a little more through that right ankle, going first in one direction, pointing and flexing the foot, and then maybe going in the other direction, pointing and flexing the foot, and then slowly let that right foot float down to the ground to meet the left. Possibly feels like your right foot is much longer than your left. Even looking at your right leg is longer than your left. Even when I look at my legs, it appears longer than the left. So let's turn the toes in and out real quick just to loosen up through the hips here. And now we'll do the same thing with the left foot. So if you had your left leg bent, bend your right knee and bring the sole of the right foot to the mat. We'll inhale that left leg up towards the ceiling and take the strap around the ball of the left foot, pressing it up towards the ceiling. If you feel comfortable straightening out the right leg, you can put both ends of the strap into your left hand, place your right hand on your right hip bone, and then straighten out that right leg, making sure to keep that right hip tracking down towards the mat. From here, we can draw that left leg towards our face, maybe keeping a slight micro bend in the left knee, making sure you don't hyperextend that left leg. Wow, my hamstrings are talking to me today, which is great. They're saying, good job, you're doing yoga. And then from here, when you're ready, we're just gonna draw little circles with that left foot on the ceiling. So very subtle little circles from the left hip here. Left leg is still mostly straight, maybe a slight bend in the knee. And then we'll draw the little circles the other way. And then when you're ready, making sure you have a block to your left that you could let your left leg fall down. Fine. We'll take both ends of the strap into the left hand, open the left leg out to the left, and possibly rest the left calf on the block. So a restorative hip opener here. You can even move your hand further up the strap closer to your left foot. And honestly, I didn't say this last time, but if you have a really open hip, you can take the first two fingers between the big toe and the second toe for a toe grip as you hang out here in this open stretch. Keeping the shoulders nice and open here. Keeping the heart breezy and open. No constriction in the heart area. When you're breathing, breathe deeply through the belly. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale that left leg back up to stand on the ceiling one more time. And we'll switch hands here. And you can take, so now my right hand is holding both ends of the strap. I'm going to take my left hand to the hip crease so that my left finger pads are pressing down on the hip bone and the tops of my fingers and fingernails are being pressed by my left thigh. And then from here, I'm going to draw that left foot towards the right just a little bit while still keeping that left hip tracking towards the ground here. So deep stretch for the outside of the left leg. And then when you're ready, we'll let that left hip come up as the left leg makes its way all the way over to the right, possibly resting on the block. And from here, we'll straighten out the left arm towards the left. You can even look over your left shoulder, making sure to keep both shoulders tracking towards the mat. When you're ready, we'll inhale that left leg back up, letting both hips rest even on the mat. You can take the strap off the ball of the left foot, put it to the side, and then slowly let the left leg float down to meet the right. When it meets the right, you can turn the toes in and out, in and out, in and out, just loosening up through the hip bones here. And then feel free to take both arms above the head, bring the legs together, stretching long. At this point, we're going to work our way into standing. So feel free to bend both knees, roll off to one side or the other, resting in a fetal position for just a second. And then when you're ready, we'll push down with one hand and then the other, coming around to hands and knees for a real brief cat and cow spinal warm up. If you like using a folded up blanket under your knees here, feel free. This is so good to protect the knees because we only have 2 of them really. So, they're pretty precious. And at this point, Brian's gonna possibly take us through some cat and cow adventure, perhaps.
Sure, so lining up your wrists directly under the shoulders, knees directly under the hips. As we inhale, raise the tailbone, drop the belly, raise the head. As you exhale, drop the tailbone, round the spine, drop the head. So just going back and forth, inhaling into cow, exhaling into cat.
Take your time with this movement, feeling every little incarnation of this stretch.
And we're going to get a circular motion into this. So the next time you inhale into cow, and exhale, round into cat. Pick a side, doesn't matter. And then when you inhale, round into cow again. So it's like now we're making a circular motion with the spine coming through cat and cow. It's like your body, it's like your torso is inside of a barrel and you're trying to rub every corner, every.
And if it feels safe for your neck to be doing this, by all means, let the neck roll as well, keeping the spine nice and long as you do this.
And if it feels awkward, just let the head hang loose. Try to release any tension in it. At some point, switch the direction that you're making that spinal circle. That torso circle, I should say.
And then next time you come back to center, whenever that is really, because we're kind of just going around the center, but feel free to come back to center whenever you're ready. We're gonna tuck the toes, place the hands about shoulder width distance, and just lift the hips into downward facing dog, downward facing dog.
Soggy dog.
Soggy dog. Just breathe here for a second. You can pedal one heel down and then the other, seeing what it feels like to be in this long, long stretch for every long muscle in the body. You can come up onto your toes, bend your knees, lift the hips towards the ceiling, and then slowly straighten the knees and start to bring the heels back towards the back of the mat.
Another thing to be aware of in your downward dog is where are your arms? When we're in a downward dog, we don't want our arms to be way up here, but we pull them down and back. It's like we're trying to bring the heart forward, bring the shoulder blades together on the back. So,
it's like the shoulders are working their way towards the sacrum, towards the tailbone. So my shoulders aren't up by my ears here, but they're actually tracking away from the ears. My neck is nice and long. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. It's very easy to get in the downward facing dog and think, okay, here I am. My shoulders are way above my ears, but it feels long, right? But no, the spine is what we're lengthening here. And when you're ready, we'll just slowly walk your hands back. It's like you're giving your mat a massage. You can bend the knees as much as you need to come into a forward fold here. Then in this forward fold, feel free to grab opposite elbows and just kind of rock from side to side a little bit. Loosening up through the hips a little bit more. I guarantee we've got a little more hip loosening for you because it is so wonderful to keep the hips open. When you're ready, we'll just gently roll all the way up to standing. When you get to standing, inhale the shoulders up by the ears. Exhale them down by your sides. Hands open out towards the center of the room. There you are. Very nice. So from here, let's have a nice wide stance, about mat's width distance. Hands can come to the hips, and we're just gonna roll the hips out a little bit. And in our case, enjoy the symphony of the floorboards. So really, as you roll here, feel the hip, the ball socket of the hip really working its way around as you go from side to side. It's a subtle thing. It's almost like a grinding feeling, but not quite, because, you know, ideally we want to have well lubricated hips, and doing hip rolls is one way to do that.
Yes, no grinding.
No grinding. It's like a high school dance. No grinding. And when you're ready, we'll switch directions, going the other way. Really explore that ellipse of the hips. And then from here, you can bring one foot just slightly closer, and we'll start doing figure eights. So bringing one hip forward and back, and then the other hip comes forward and back. So first, let's just start with hands on the hips, getting a feel for this movement. I'll show it from the side because it's really a knee bending kind of thing, like one knee bends and then the other knee bends. And then when you're ready, if you feel comfortable adding in the arms here, you can add in a back stroke as you do this, really rotating through the shoulders. Doesn't matter how wild you look. Does matter how wonderful your shoulders feel. If they do not feel wonderful as you do this, by all means, keep the hands on the hips. Then when you're ready, we'll just shake a little bit. I can't believe we've made it 37 minutes into this class without shaking yet, but don't worry, there will be more shaking available for all of us. And then we will take the hips the other way. So hands back on the hips. This time I'm leading from the glute. So I'm bringing one glute forward and then the other. Back and forth like this. Same thing, bending one knee, bending the other knee. And once you've got the swing of this, no pun intended, we'll start swimming forward here. So doing the breaststroke. And then we'll just shake it off again, this time in a more formalized way. Allow yourself a big official shake. That might be hopping in place a little bit. That might be legs wide, just shaking everything down. Whatever it feels like. It could be waggling an arm, it could be waggling the legs. Whatever you need to do to get any rigidity, out of the body. Brian claimed the other day that we never teach triangle pose in yoga, and that we should. So today we're actually going to do that. So let's work our way there with a little bit of sort of spinal flexion first, in the form of maybe chopping wood or spider stretches, and then we'll get into our triangle pose, possibly with the assistance of a wall if you like. Do you want to chop wood or spider stretch or whatever? Whatever you like.
Let's do some spider stretches.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done those.
Fun.
They're a lot of
Been a
fun.
minute. So spider stretches.
I'll show from the
You
side.
can kind of bring your feet, just to stand however
Maybe almost
comfortable.
Matt's
A little wide, yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea is we're gonna start out kind of like, well, you can watch me because if you gotta see what I'm doing. So you can kind of start out hanging down, sort of like in a sort of a loose forward fold. It keeps a little bend in the knees here. The idea is we're gonna roll up, open out the heart, open out the shoulders, take a little back bend here, and then we come back. Inhaling, opening, exhale, folding. With each inhale, maybe you bring your arms out wider, maybe you take them up a little higher. Whack your neighbor. Don't whack your neighbor.
So this is called spider stretches because the idea is each time you inhale and open up, the arms come up a little higher. So it's maybe like 4 stations like this. 1, 2, 3, and then all the way up 4. And then I come back down. 1, 2, 3. Exhaling. 4.
All right.
So it's a real loose opening for the spine. The idea is that our spine is going back and forth here as we do this.
And then you can just,
Which is kind of the quick way of doing a sun salutation.
and you can just feel free to shake it out, shake it off, roll the shoulders a little bit.
All right, so now let's just do one sun salutation just for the sake of
Yes.
further spinal flexion. Let's see, can you see me? Here we go. We don't really need to see the ceiling for this. So, real quick, sun salutation A from Ashtanga primary series. Not something I'm super duper educated in, but their sun salutation is really nice. So inhale the arms up wide above the head. Exhale, fold forward all the way. You can swan dive forward. Inhale, come up to a flat back. Keep the chin tucked here so the spine is nice and long, even the cervical spine. Exhale, bring the hands to the ground on either side of the feet. You can step one foot back and then the other, or you can hop all the way back. We'll hang out here for a second in our plank, inhaling deeply. Then exhaling, coming down, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. I will show knees, chest, chin. Brian will show chaturanga. So inhaling, Exhaling knees, and then the chest and the chin. Inhale, I'm coming up in the Cobra. Brian's gonna show upward facing dog where the hips are off the ground. Exhale, bend the knees, coming through tabletop into downward facing dog. We'll breathe here for just a second. And then at this point, it's up to you. You can either, well, let's just come all the way up to our forward fold here. You can either hop forward or just walk forward like I did. So exhaling forward, inhale, lengthen the spine again for flat back. Remember to keep the chin tucked so the neck is nice and long. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms come out wide and up. Exhale, palms come down in front of the chest. Very nice, hands can come down. So triangle posture. It's a wonderful stretch, and we're really going to take it as a stretch today. If you want to make it a strength builder, you can do it in the middle of the room, which maybe could you show away from the wall, and I'll show at the wall. So let's start off with so if you're against the wall, your left heel is perpendicular to the wall. Your right foot is parallel to the wall. And for me, my legs aren't super duper long, so there's probably about 2.5 feet or almost a meter between my legs. So you want a kind of wide stance here. If your legs are long, take it a whole meter, 3 feet or wider. From here,
Hips.
yes, will you show kind of at a diagonal or from the side so people can see how wonderfully even your hips here are here. I like to envision that scene in Star Wars where they're in the trash compactor and there are these two walls coming close to the characters. That's kind of what's happening with our hips here. It's like we're kind of between two panes of glass here. So my right heel is actually intersecting the arch of my left foot. Did you have something you want to say?
Yes, so the idea being that even though your front foot is facing outwards like this, the hips are facing sideways, maybe in line with the back foot.
So from here, I'm just going to put a block between my left foot and the wall in case I want it. I'm going to reach my arms out to the side, and then I'm going to bump my left hip towards the left and just reach. This is the beauty of this pose. It's a big, weird reach. Very strange stretch that doesn't make sense until one day it does. And then from here, I'm going to take my right hand down either to my calf or to the block. Left arm comes right up. If you're against the wall, you could even bring your back against the wall and see what that feels like to hold this position this way. But the idea really is that you want to keep length in both sides of the body. So if you are against the wall and you feel like you're balancing pretty comfortably, you can actually take that right hand to the right hip and push down a little bit here to lengthen through the right side of the body. And then from here, we'll extend that left arm up, right arm can stay at the hip or down at the shin or on the block. You can look up towards your left hand. And then for a little bit of challenge to the balance, here you go, Brian, you'll like that. Let's come into half mode. So for those of us against the wall, this will be the most delightful thing. For those not against the wall, you're in for an adventure. I'm gonna take that block about 8 to 10 inches in front of my right foot, place my right hand on it, and lift the left leg and the left arm. Against the wall, this is absolutely divine because you have the wall to support you. Away from the wall, you really just want to focus on lifting that left hip so that your hips are as parallel to walls in general as they can be. Very nice, Brian. This is a great view of the bottom of your left foot. And then when you're ready, we'll just look down at the block, take both hands to the block. So we're coming now into warrior three. Just briefly, that means that my hips are parallel to the ground now. So I'm lowering my left hip a little. You might even need to bend through your right knee to do this. Then I'm actually going to fold forward here into standing split. Your option. You can stay in warrior three if you like. And then I'm going to bring that left leg down to meet the right. Hang out here in my forward fold for just a second. When you're ready, feel free to come back up to standing, and we'll do it on the other side. So this time, if you're against the wall, the left foot is parallel to the wall, the right foot is perpendicular to the wall, and in my case again, it's about 2.5 feet between my feet, almost a full meter. If you have long legs, do a full meter or 3 feet or wider. Again, this is, I guess, the subtlety I didn't really describe so well on the other side. It's like we're kind of tucking the left hip under and the right hip back to keep the hips as parallel to the wall as possible. Then from here, we bump that right hip out towards the right, reach towards the left, arms come out into a T, reaching, reaching, reaching. I'm lengthening through both sides of my body, and then my hand is coming down. My left hand is coming down because of my left shin to a block. If you're real flexy, you may be able to take your left hand to your left big toe and grab a little yoga toe grip there, whatever you like. If you are against the wall and you want to really make sure that you're lengthening through the left side of the body, you can take that left hand to the left hip and kind of push down here, then lift the right arm, then let the left arm come down. Very nice. Breathing deep. You can look up towards your right hand, challenge your balance for just a second, whether you're at the wall or away from the wall. And then when you're ready, half moon, I'm going to take the block and in my left hand and put it about 8 to 10 inches in front of my left leg, bend my left leg, come up. So you can see my left leg, my right leg is actually parallel to the ground right here, and I'm really opening up. It's almost like I'm still stuck in that trash compactor. I just don't want so many feet in the nasty water that they were in. Sorry, I'm getting quite obscure with these Star Wars references today, I think. Breathing deep. Then from here, we'll come into warrior 3. So we'll bring the right arm down to meet the left. Maybe both hands rest on the block. The right hip comes down, so the hips are now parallel to the ground. You might need to bend through your left knee to keep the hips parallel here. And then if you want to come in to standing split from here, we'll bring both hands to the ground and lift that right leg, walking the hands back towards the left foot. And then when you're ready, we'll bring that left foot down to meet the right. Again, hanging out here in our forward fold. At this point, if you're not on your mat, feel free to come back to your mat. Still in your forward fold. Feel free to bend the knees so that the hands can rest on the ground. And we're going to actually toe heel the feet a little bit wider so that when I bend my knees completely, I can come into a yoga squat. If you like to yoga squat on a block, that is totally a great option. Feel free to sit on the block. If you prefer not to, that's fine too. We're just going to hang out here for 1 second, keeping the spine nice and long. And if you like, I'll show you on the side. So my spine is long here. I'm actually lifting up a little bit out of the spine to keep it long. If you like, we're going to do a quick twist. It's up to you if you want to make it a bind. I'm going to take my left arm in front of my left leg. So my left shoulder is kind of on the inside of my left knee. And I'm going to lift my right arm up to the right. I'm going to look up and over my right shoulder. If you want to wrap that all the way around to a bind, feel free to grab your hands behind your left hip. The other side so I can catch my breath. Thank you. Chatty, chatty.
And just keep breathing here as you're twisting. Come out of it whenever you feel like it. And when you're ready to come out of it, you can release the bind, raise that right hand back up, bring it back down. Here we go. Now this time, we're going to take the right hand in front. So it's like we're getting the right shoulder on the inside of the leg here. Turn to the left, raise the left hand up. And if you want to take that bind, you will take the left hand around behind your back.
If you are binding, really make sure to continue looking over your left shoulder. So we're keeping things open here. We want the heart to be nice and open. And then when you're ready, if you're in the bind, you can split your hands again. If your hands are already split, feel free to bring both hands to the ground, just grounding yourself here, and then we'll sit back on our hips. We've got 8 minutes left. What do you think? Maybe one bow to angle just for good measure. If we did promise some hip openers, and this is the hip opener par excellence. If you want a wide-legged hip opener where you open up both legs to the side like this, make sure if you do this, you might even need to sit up on the blanket or something to keep the spine nice and long, like that. So my spine isn't curved like this, but I'm actually keeping my leg here. Whether you're in bound angle like Brian or you're in this wide-legged hip opener like me, if you are in the wide-legged hip opener, you can also bend at the knees slightly if you like. We're gonna just kind of walk our hands forward, keeping the spine as long as you can, stretching forward here, possibly enjoying a block as a nice place to aim for in terms of resting your forehead. And then after some long spine forward folding, you can allow the spine to relax a little bit. So it's okay to bend a little bit through the middle of the back here. We're just resting in this forward fold for just a second. Breathing deep. Possibly hearing the birds of spring chirping their heads off outside your window. And then when you're ready, we'll push down on our hands to lengthen the spine again, coming back up. If legs are extended, feel free to hook your hands under your knees, leaning back, bending the knees, drawing the knees together for no matter which one you did, whether it was bound to angle or legs long. Let's take the palms down behind us and let the knees rock side to side for the dubiously named Mud Flat Girl. I don't know what jerk named that posture. Who could have thought of something so crass? And then when you're ready, if you have any other postures you'd like to take, by all means take them. Otherwise, feel free to join us in Shavasana. If you need to cover up with a blanket or put on some socks or a sweater or a sweatshirt, feel free. Otherwise, just make sure that you are in your most comfortable rest. So what that can mean is tucking the tail ever so slightly as you lay on the ground, tucking the chin ever so slightly to lengthen the back of the neck, and then lifting through the shoulders just a little bit, tucking the shoulder blades together, and then letting the shoulders come back down, resting the heart on the mat. If you wear glasses, feel free to take them off and put them somewhere to the side where you know you won't roll over on them by accident. And then just let the breathing become soft and natural and allow yourself to sink into this posture, feeling the beneficial effects of all the stretches and practices you just enjoyed with us.
When you're ready, you can start to bring your awareness back to your body, back to your breathing. Feel free to deepen your breath. You can start moving the toes and the fingers, maybe rolling through the wrists and the ankles. You can turn the head side to side. So we're going to take a big stretch on the mat. So feel free to bring the feet together. Take the hands up overhead and inhale and stretch long on the mat. And when you're ready, you can hug your knees into your chest. You can rock there if you'd like. Eventually, we'll make our way up to seated. So take your time, come up however you like to get there. And once we find ourselves in a seated position, feel free to bring the palms to touch at heart center. We're gonna end the practice with an Om. So if you feel like joining us, feel free. We'll take, well, you know what, wait. Let's do this. A couple of rounds of Prana Mudra first. So take the arms out wide. We're gonna inhale, reach long and up. Maybe even take a back bend. Exhale, pressing down. Maybe even rounding the back. One more time. Inhale, reaching up. Scooping up everything you want. Exhaling down. And then we'll inhale and reach up and let the palms touch overhead. Then we'll bring the palms down to heart center. And now, if you'd like to join us in an Om, feel free. We'll take a deep inhale. Thanks for practicing today. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you much, everybody. This class will be very possibly moving outdoors next week, in which case it will be from 6 to 7 p.m. Apologies that it's so early, but hopefully we'll see you there.